This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
So just came back from a trip out of town. Went to my goddaughter's wedding.
How many? So we are in June. What is this? June 16th or something?
Yeah.
11th. How many summer trips have you already taken?
This is my second.
Okay.
So I went to Mansfield, Ohio for a soccer tournament. Now I've gone to Richmond, Virginia. The whole family went.
And then next week you're going to Berlin.
And then I'm going to Berlin. Right. And then I've got 2 more in September.
What are you doing then?
I've got 2 more weddings.
Do you have a job? I'm just curious. Who do you think does everything when you're gone? Okay?
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm a busy man. I'm very popular. Oh, actually, I've got 3 trips in September.
Okay.
I'm going to St. Louis on Labor Day. I've got a wedding in Wyoming, another niece. And then there's another wedding in Cincinnati. So I've got, 3.
When are you going to Cincinnati?
I think September 15th or something like that.
Okay.
14th.
So you're going to be on
20th.
You're not going to stay in town for my birthday?
They're both all of these are weekend trips. So I'm still here during the week. I'm still coming in. I'm still punching the clock.
Yeah.
I'm still doing all that stuff,
Just
all
like,
that
what is
important
it?
stuff.
Leghorn Fog. What is it? Foghorn Leghorn?
Yes, I'm just like that.
I'll do, Bill. I ain't
All right, it's time for
you were going to tell a story.
Well, I mean, the story is that because you wandered me off in a different direction. I thought I had a different ending now.
Well,
No, the story is this. We went to Richmond, Virginia. Yeah. Bridget and I flew, and the boys drove. And it's about a 15-hour drive, 14-hour drive. Yeah. And, I'm not going to pay for them forever. That's the bottom line.
Aren't all 3 of them really shitty drivers?
Well, define shitty. I mean, have they all gotten into multiple accidents? Yes.
Have they all hit a stop sign and knocked it down?
Did they make it there and back completely safely? Yes, they did.
Were they upset that they had to drive versus...
They weren't thrilled. But I offered them the option. They could have flown. They just had to pay for it themselves.
Okay.
And they opted not to.
Did they pay for the gas?
Yes, they did. And they did drive my car, too. So
you run a tight ship here.
That's right. Exactly right. They can move out, too, at any point. It's perfectly okay for them to move out. I'm just saying.
Wow.
It's time for Minutia Men.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie production on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Minutia Men with Rick and Dave.
Of the 3, who's Tommy the worst driver?
Ah, boy. That's a tough call. I'm going to say Johnny might be the worst driver because Johnny is
spacey as he does it.
No, that's Tommy. Tommy's spacey. Johnny is really nervous, and Sean's aggressive. Okay. So they all have flaws.
Between you and Bridget, you're the far better driver, right?
Well, let's just say yes, I am. But I'm also kind of spacey. I'll be honest. I'm kind of spacey.
Yeah. Well, I'm the best.
Ask Tony Lasano how spacey I am.
Hey, we got speaking of space, which we got to fill up some space.
We do
for the day. Do you have the Florida jingle handy by any chance?
I always have it for you.
What's wrong with you, Florida?
Florida priest allegedly bites woman in bizarre fight over communion wafer. Father Mike Tyson, Father Fidel Rodriguez was handing out communion to parishioners at St. Thomas. Is it Aquinas?
Aquinas
Catholic Church in St. Cloud, Florida, when a woman went up to receive the Eucharist and the priest refused to give it to her.
Now, why?
Well, hold on. The unnamed woman was at Mass to participate in her niece's first communion, according to the St. Cloud Police Department. And Rodriguez claims she had not completed the necessary steps to get communion. Now, I've walked in these shoes before. As far as I know, what steps do you have?
There's all kinds. I mean, technically you weren't supposed to even get it.
Really?
Yes, because you're not Catholic. In fact, you're not even supposed to get it if you haven't been to Mass. If you haven't gone to confession and confessed something as simple as not going to Mass, you're not supposed to get it.
Okay. Did you get in trouble for that? Did anybody?
No. No. Okay. But it was frowned upon. Let's just put it that way.
So the woman can be heard telling cops in body cam footage, "He wouldn't give me the cookie." I don't know if it was the way I was dressed or if it was what I looked like. He would not give me the cookie. One witness told police the woman was singled out because of her attire. So this is Florida.
Tramp.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have seen Walmart, Florida pictures. People at Walmart. So maybe. But then the witness says he tried to forcefully shove it in her mouth. She backed up. The witness alleged to the cops. Okay, so I guess I don't know. I really don't know what's going on here. She said, "No, don't do that." And she tried to get it. And that's when he went crazy. Rodriguez, however, had a different version.
Okay. All right. Listen, I'm on his side. Here's what happens. You go up there to get the communion, and you have two choices. You put your hands out, and then they put it in your hands. And if you don't put your hands out, they put it in your mouth.
Okay, so she clearly didn't know what was going on. So what I must have did the hand thing.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Okay. by luck, pure luck. So the priest's version is that she didn't know didn't know the process of receiving communion, so he denied it for the first time. Then she came back the second time, and he refused it, and he refused to give it again. That's when it hit the fan.
Okay.
Now, she referred to the wafer as a cookie.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Okay,
either.
And from what I understand, because the only time I took it, it ended up in my pocket, and I didn't actually eat it. They don't taste like baked goods, do they?
No.
Right. What do they taste like?
It's like matzah, like unleavened bread.
I'm not a big fan.
I'm not either. But here, the Catholics not only believe that is, Jesus is not. It's not symbolic. They believe that it is actually Jesus that you are eating. Yeah.
So as you know, I'm an idea guy.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think she brings up an interesting point. When she calls it a cookie, this could open up a whole new branding opportunity for us, right? To reach a bigger audience.
Yes.
A larger audience,
that.
right?
Yes.
As you know, it's all about positioning and packaging. Mm-hmm. So let me run by a couple of names of communion wafers that I'm workshopping.
I'm just going to move a few feet away from you as you say these.
So do you think...
Am I connected by electricity here? I think I am.
Do you think Jesus listens to our podcast?
He's a huge fan.
Okay, then why doesn't he give a review? Would it kill him to give a review on Apple Podcast?
Top 1% in the world.
Yeah, come on. So let me run you by a couple of names, okay?
Okay.
Jesus.
Okay. Oh my God. I'm going straight to hell.
Okay. Jesus pieces.
Uh-huh.
Okay. For the kind of the minty type flavor, Testaments.
Okay.
Right?
Not bad.
For the gluten-free crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is an alternative. See what I did there with alternative? Yeah. I can't believe it's not Jesus.
Okay.
And I think this is my favorite. Sweet and savory.
I hope he's not listening.
So there you go. That was
okay.
Again, and I'm just workshopping these.
Yeah.
I'll have another 9, 10 next week too.
That's nice.
I think Jesus might be my favorite.
Yeah. Okay.
Although I can't believe it's not Jesus is pretty good.
That's the best one. It's definitely the best one. All right. So I have a story for you. This story comes to us from the BBC. Mr. Handley, a former army medic, told BBC Radio Scotland's Good Morning Scotland program that his daughter...
Can you do a Scottish accent?
Let's see. Scotland's been ruined by the Scots. No, I can't.
I'm trying to conjure up Shrek right now.
Yeah. Anyway, he was on the Good Morning...
He
was on the Good Morning Scotland program, and his daughter Peyton had been showing symptoms like bad breath for around 3 or 4 months. He said, "We put it down to being viral and kids catching everything. As Peyton's symptoms persisted, the toddler showed discomfort as she scratched her nose, further leading her parents to believe that she had something trapped in her airway. When she was examined by a specialist, he discovered the problem within 5 minutes. She had shoved a raisin up her nose."
Yeah.
But the story has a happy ending, Dave. The doctors got it out, and the little girl is fine. It's a cute story about kids shoving stuff up their noses.
Yeah.
Now, not as cute. is when adults shove things, and they usually don't shove it up their noses.
Well, or they'll shove communion in somebody's mouth.
Well,
right?
they do. But sometimes, and this is a famous thing, anyone who has ever worked in an emergency room will tell you, sometimes they shove things up their butts. And there are entire Reddit pages dedicated to this. Yeah. And so, I just wanted to, I occasionally go through them to check it out. Now you're uncomfortable. You just sent me to hell, and I can't tell you up the butt joke.
I love how you just said, I occasionally monitor these Reddits.
I do, because we used to do a bit on Steve and Gary's show about this, so I know where this stuff is located.
Just so you know, that show, you haven't worked for that show for how many years? 20-some years?
Yeah, I know, but
you could stop trying to find content for it.
I cannot stop. I cannot stop. Anyway, check it out. There's a Reddit page, and I'm going to go through some of these. Would you like to hear some of these?
No.
Wow.
But sure.
You literally were just telling Jesus jokes.
Okay, fine,
and you can't hear of... Here's one. Okay. When I was interning at a trauma center, a dude said he went to his daughter's bathroom since his wife was taking a while in the shower. He says he slipped, and up goes his daughter's whole Barbie doll up his ass. When we did the x-ray, we saw Barbie. Not only was she way up in there, but her arms were straight up and her hair was everywhere.
And the new proctologist Barbie will be available.
There's another one. Dude was found laying face down on his couch, completely naked, with a fish tail sticking out from between his cheeks. Firefighters and paramedics were trying their best not to laugh. He never gave an excuse. All he said was, it was frozen when it went in. Here's another one. In the hospital I worked in through the university, word used to get around pretty quick when someone came in with something up their butt. They always said they fell on it. One was a tennis ball, and he said he was watching tennis on TV while naked, playing with tennis balls, and fell on one.
If I had a nickel for every time.
Once, x-rayed a guy who had an entire unbroken light bulb up his ass. His excuse was that he was putting cream on his hemorrhoids when his dog ran into his legs and he fell backwards onto a lamp. But when we pulled it out, it was taped to a stick and it had a condom on it. And finally, we had a guy and a girl come in with each other's wedding rings up their buttholes. Well, kind of romantic in a weird way.
That's nice.
So there we go.
Well, they're doing what they're doing.
Yes.
And then something happens. They're like, I went a little too hard with the sea bass or whatever. Exactly. And he's going to go, I got to come up with a story, right?
Well, the funny thing is the reason why he couldn't pull it right back out is because it thawed when it went in there.
It got bigger.
And then the scales.
Ooh, that would hurt.
Yes. When it's frozen, the scales are no big deal. But
kids listening, that's a tip for you.
Again, it's a Reddit page. Check it out.
I got a review here in a sea of podcasts. Minutia Men is an island unto it itself. The podcast has heart, humor, and tons of great content.
Okay.
Hosted by two hosts that are genuinely interested in their guests and what they have to say. A breath of fresh air and worth of your time. Subscribe now.
Wow.
I know.
That's a little too nice.
This was on Apple by Jesus.
Oh, really? It's about time.
No, but it is Church the Great. I'm not kidding there. Church the Great on Apple.
Okay. Time for another feature.
Time now for Studio Walls.
And the words of the prophets were written on the studio walls. Weekend Days.
So, Dave, we've been doing this show for so long that some of the guests that we've had on the show
are dead.
It's just not with us anymore.
Right.
And one of them was the drummer from Yes, Alan White, which is one of my favorite interviews. His birthday would have been this week, June 14th.
He just died fairly recently, too.
Yeah, he died last year or the year. I think he died of COVID during the COVID thing. But anyway, he was a swell guest. And one of the things that we discovered was just totally offhand. And this is one of my favorite moments of any of our interviews. And I think you'll understand why as you listen to it.
Yeah, well, whatever. You know what? You're in our book. You're in our Hall of Fame blokes.
Yes,
right now.
you are.
We've got a ceremony coming up next week. You're welcome to it.
And thank you for getting up early. I know it's noon here in Chicago, which means it's 10 o'clock in the morning, which means...
It's 4 o'clock in the morning in rock and roll time.
I mean, that's very early for a rock and roller to come on the show, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's 10 o'clock here, and I usually... While I'm in the shower and stuff, I watch my game shows, but you spoiled it for me.
What is your favorite game show? Are you a Wheel of Fortune guy?
I like Let's Make a Deal, and then The Price is Right. And
you can't do wrong with those.
I'm usually doing emails and answering stuff and phone calls and all this kind of stuff. Well, I'm watching it, but you guys spoiled it today. But I'm glad you did.
Yeah. So, just so you know, the guy did not win the showcase.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
lost the showcase.
That was just one of those moments that off the cuff moment. But he apparently a big fan of game shows.
Wasn't that interview? I'm sure it was this interview that when he got the Yes gig.
Yeah,
he had to learn the entire catalog in one weekend.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and yes, songs are a little complicated.
And wasn't he also the one that John Lennon? Called him and he thought it was a crank phone call.
Yeah, and he hung up on him.
Yeah, hung up on it because he wanted him to join the.
Yep, it's episode 68, Minutia Men Celebrity Interview. It's a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Alan White from Yes. Now, before we go any further, there was that was in a little short clip. So I wanted to do something else for you. You know what happened June 11th, 1970? So this week in 1970?
We were, I don't know.
This was in a movie, and the movie is called Goodfellas.
Okay.
This is a real scene. I mean, this is a scene of something that really happened, all right? Okay. And it happened on June 11th, 1970. I'm going to play just a little clip of it here, and we can all enjoy it together. Here we go.
Good. You're getting too big on me now.
Just don't go busting my balls, Billy, okay?
Hey, Tommy, if I was going to break your balls, I'd tell you to go home and get your shine box. This kid, I used to call him Spit Shine Tommy. I swear to God. He'd make your shoes look like fucking mirrors. Excuse my language. He was terrific. He was the best. And he made a lot of money, too. Salud, Tommy.
No more shines, Billy.
What?
I said no more shines. Maybe you didn't hear about it. You've been away a long time. They didn't go up there and tell you. I don't shine shoes anymore.
Relax, will you, for crying out? What's got into you? I'm breaking your balls a little bit, that's all. I'm only kidding with you.
Sometimes you don't sound like you're kidding. There's a lot of people around.
I'm only kidding with you. We're having a party. I just came home. I haven't seen you in a long time, and I'm breaking your balls, and right away you're getting fucking fresh. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you.
I'm sorry, too. It's okay. No problem.
Okay, salute. Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
Motherfucking you fucking piece of shit.
Okay, it goes on from there.
So that was a real story.
It was a real story.
Okay.
That really happened, and I played it for you because Frank Vincent is the character,
and of course
your dear friend, who you hung out with.
Hung out with Frank Vincent.
Yeah, and obviously Joe Pesci. But the whole shine box thing that apparently was a true story, and it's featured in the film Goodfellas.
Goodfellas is one of those movies that whenever it's on,
could not agree more.
Stop whatever you're doing and watch the rest of that. Hey, I got a story out of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Have you ever been to Pittsburgh?
No.
I would really want to go to PNC Park.
I would like to go too.
Maybe.
I've got lots of open time this summer. If you want to make a trip sometime.
Well, both the White Sox and the Cubs will be well out of it by the time.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we might be able to get tickets. Pittsburgh will be well out of it. Pittsburgh hasn't turned on its public water fountains because there's only one guy in the city who can do it.
And what, is he out of town or something?
The Gainey administration, I think Gainey's probably the mayor, has hired more than 100 new workers in the Department of Public Works, and according to payroll records, has shelled out $1.2 million in overtime already this summer.
Okay.
It's only, what are we, June. But Public Works Director Chris Horenstein says none of the new workers can turn the water fountains on. And we're not talking about like the Buckingham fountain. We're talking about the water where you drink water.
Yeah.
Right? And Pittsburgh, going to get very hot. I have one plumber working for the city, Hornstein said. We have over 200 drinking fountains, and he's the only guy who knows how to do it.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. Right. The city said once the plumber gets through his other work, he will start on the water fountains, but it's unlikely he'll be able to make a significant dent by the end of summer. Then I'll have to begin dismantling them for the winter. So if you live in Pittsburgh right now, and I'm sure we have listeners in Pittsburgh, find the one guy there that can turn on the water fountains and tell him to go. So how much do you want to bet that this plumber is in his 60s?
Why is that?
Because he doesn't want to tell anybody how to.
Oh, yeah,
he's
exactly.
He's not going to tell anybody
I'm not
how.
let that whippersnapper take my job away from
exactly.
me.
So he's just milking this baby for. Do you remember when we were at PGU?
Yes.
And there was that one engineer that could only do the remotes.
Oh, yeah. What was his name again?
Was it Mike McInerney?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And he was the only guy who was able to.
Yeah, and we thought he was like 40 years old,
right,
but
he was like
probably
24.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And didn't he flunk out or something? And for the rest of the semester, we couldn't do any.
Is that true? I don't remember that.
I don't know.
Wow.
That's a good story.
Okay. Let's just say it is true. I have a story for you. This comes from the Huffington Post. They have a feature called Best Marriage Tweets of the Week. And, I don't check it out every week, but I do occasionally check it out.
Like
and
you don't like the
butt one I check out all the time.
Okay.
This is more, unusual. Every now and then there's some areas of marriage that they tackle in these tweets that I find hilarious. One of these I really find hilarious, but there's 5 of them. Here we go. Holly Harris tweets, "The walk of shame. But it's my husband finally bringing all the dirty dishes and cups that have accumulated on his desk the past few days into the kitchen."
I've been there. That's it.
Dad named Matt tweets, "Walked in the living room to see my wife had the couch apart and mopping the windowsill. So if anyone needs me, I'll be out in the barn avoiding that storm." Robo Justin tweets, "My plans? I'm about to sit next to my wife and ask her dozens of questions about the show she is watching."
Because, of course, she
usually the other way around, yes. Dad Moon Rising tweets, "In spite of how it looks, I don't purposely do things wrong so that you stop asking me to do them. ... And other things I tell my wife that she does not believe." And then here's my favorite one. Simon Holland tweets, "Unloaded the dishwasher today and just wanted to mention it on here as well in case my wife didn't hear me talking about it all day long."
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at emptying the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not all that great at filling it. I mean, I do great, but it's not to the standards.
Right. It will never be to the standards, yes.
But if I'm emptying the dishwasher and I see something that I don't know what it is or don't know where it goes, I just leave it
on I put it on the counter.
I think you're going to say you put it on the couch. You put it on the counter.
On the counter, yeah.
I just leave it in the dishwasher.
Yeah, that's not a bad. That's not a bad
we've
option.
got like this metal disc with. I don't know if it's from a Cuisinart thing or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It's been there for since the Olympics 4 years ago. It's really clean. It's very shiny. Like, I don't know what I'm just gonna do.
We have these giant bowls that are in the dishwasher occasionally. I have no idea where those go. I look in every cabinet. I'm like, there's no room for these giant bowls.
And they don't fit, right?
No,
and you can't close the
right. There's some magical place that those are kept, and I guess I could ask, but who's got the time for that?
Exactly.
Who's got?
You're on that Reddit file.
Exactly. I've got butts to look at. All right, it's time for this feature.
A random name pulled out of Rurik's bowl of brushes with celebrities. Mixture, collection, selection, assemblage, medley, assortment, variety. Time now for Celebrity Potpourri with Rick and Dave.
And this is going to be the first time ever that we have 2 weeks in a row an email from a woman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she probably enjoyed the dishwasher segment. Yeah. And she's turning us off right now. Her name is Molly. Thank you, Molly, for sending this in. I subscribe to 8 podcasts, and yours is the only one that isn't political.
Oh, well.
You should take that as a compliment, she says. I have a dilemma, however. I listen to so many political podcasts and I watch a lot of cable news, but the political shows don't do brushes with celebrity segments. You guys do, but your celebrity segments aren't about politics, so I'm not sure if this one will qualify.
Sure.
Anyway, here goes. I was in Washington, D.C. 3 months ago. I was in an ice cream shop that also serves coffee, waiting for my latte. And who was standing there, also waiting for his coffee? David Corn, the political writer for The Nation.
Okay.
Which I would know him. If you saw David Corn, you know who it was. I said hello to him, and he was very nice, but I couldn't think of anything else to say to him, so I said, got any scoops? He's a political writer. He said, nope, just getting coffee. I think he thought I was referring to ice cream, but I wasn't. I was trying to find out if he had any scoops, news scoops. I recognized him as a reporter, but I hadn't said that I recognized him as a reporter. I was too embarrassed to clarify, so I just replied, me too. That's the story.
That's great. Well, when you met David Axelrod at the Sox game, you were totally fanboy.
Do you remember that?
Oh my God, you're a total fanboy.
It took me 3 innings to get up the courage to walk over and say hello. And he was just, like a few feet away from us.
He was very nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't he say that he would do our podcast and never return our email?
Yes. Yes, that's true. But
we've had Judd Legum.
Judd Legum.
We've had
yes, that's right. We have.
We've had Scaramucci on. We've had.
And I actually listened to David Axelrod's podcast. He's got a podcast called Hacks on Tap. It's a very good podcast, political podcast. But anyway. All right. So we have people to thank.
Tony Lasano, thanks for all you do, Tony.
Yes, Tony is the executive producer of the show with Opie Shows. We also need to thank Ed Silla with Radio Misfits. Radio Misfits is the place where talk radio is gone.
It's not dead.
It's not dead.
No,
it's here.
Yeah, it's right here.
Would you consider this talk radio what we're doing here? I guess it kind of is talk radio.
Right? I mean,
right.
We're not playing music. What else? And we're not doing live sports.
Yeah, it's no value to the content.
No.
But I think talk radio is kind of questionable as far as value to the content.
I was going to say there's a lot of talk radio out there that has very little
That's
value.
a fair point. Well, we'll be back again if I've got time. Next week for another episode of
Minutia Men.
Yes, that's right. But you know what? I would like you to really emphasize that.
Okay, you didn't have
We'll
the
be
jig
back
set.
again next week for another episode of
Minutia Men. I always have the jiggles ready.
The proceeding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I said it was
Find
spacey.
our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?
I've got butts to look at.